I joined the Ducks 12 years ago, and I was from a fine dining restaurant, and there it was, practice was everything had to be completely, sort of perfect on the plate. Things were sort of trimmed, and it was just, a lot of things were discarded, which then spawned the notion to try and use as much of it as possible. And that's how it began. I mean, the Holy Grail with regards to principles around minimal waste is using as much as you can from any particular product. There's a nose to tail philosophy that was kind of coined by Fergus Henderson, which was around the pig, which was using the nose, the offal, the head, the trotters. And now, many of us have approached that same philosophy, but with all foods, whether it's a fish, a bunch of carrots, a pumpkin, a cauliflower, different proteins. Any ingredient that's interesting you in a particular season, you design the dish, you taste it, you tweak it, and then I think automatically you just look at what's in the bin, and you look at how that can add to that particular dish or another item on the menu. Often it begins with a particular item, so serving breakfast, you have a lot of, it's hard to keep on top of like bread, ordering, management, and still to this day, coming up with ways to find homes for bread scraps. So we do like a spent bread cracker, so stale bread, blitz it up with water so it becomes like a wallpaper paste, and then drying that, and then we deep fry that and serve that with parfaits, tartares. So again, it's using something that's a little bit different with something that's comforting and sort of known. Drying bread and incorporating that into pasta dishes, which has a huge impact on the bottom line, but is also, for me more importantly, is so delicious. And that's just bread. There's coffee is another component. If you've got a cafe, you're probably going to go through kilos and kilos of spent coffee, which in turn has loads of flavour. It's great for rubs, for things like salt, spiced coffee briskets, just really delicious. Caramels, you can incorporate that into syrups, which then you can use in one of the best desserts on the planet, a tiramisu. The third one's probably citrus. Any food establishment, whether you're a cocktail bar, cafe or a restaurant, a hotel, you're going to go through loads of citrus. And so for us, we've spent a fair amount of time looking at ways that we can incorporate this through our dishes. So whole lemon curds, preserving lemons, limes, blood oranges, citrus. Drying the skins and incorporating that into salts, which is such an easy way for the home cook and chef. But also kind of other techniques that you can imply that are a bit sort of left of field is drying the skins of citrus and using those as kindling. If you're running a pizza establishment, you can ferment citrus skin and then turn it into cleaning products. There's a whole world just with using the whole lemon. Like most of these dishes, the inspiration came from figuring out a problem and just trying to find a home. I think back in the day we were doing a dinner first menu, and we hadn't stored the herbs correctly, so they were frozen and it was quite expensive. They sort of were wilted and sort of seen better days. And they were for a salsa, for a particular steak dish. And so we had a char grill, we had a hibachi grill, so we just brushed them with oil and salt, and we charred them up to sort of burn them, which in turn sort of concentrated the flavours. It gave the sort of salsa a beautiful sort of smoky note, and it became a bit of a thing. It was like probably the most commented dish of that particular night. And so just that dish there that relatively sort of came about as an accident. Is still on our menus today in some of the Ducks charcoal herb salsa, and so yeah, it just it came out of not wanting to throw it in the bin and just go, oh, that's just like the sort of go-to action, but just to step back and look at maybe a different approach, and I think you sort of say that about that's how a lot of creative results happen. So definitely it's, there's the minutiae of designing a specific component on the dish to like stepping back and looking at your business more holistically in regards to operationally and education. It's definitely, we don't take lightly. I now, we sort of moved into this more sort of mentorship space and set these sort of parameters of what we want to achieve as a restaurant group. And for me now, one of the huge perks of what I do is when chefs like Tim come up to me and they're sort of sharing their new discoveries around a dish or an ingredient that's minimalising waste, and it's brilliant. and it tastes delicious, and it's something that can also be replicated in some way, shape or form in other venues. I think that's brilliant. I think that for me that's the future. It makes me very proud. It really does. I think, yeah, and it also makes you want to be better as well, because your staff, they kind of push you. It's very, very motivating. The trajectory of this, sort of waste-free, common sense cooking is just, it's blowing up now. It was a bit fringe sort of 10 years ago, but even the kids that are coming through our kitchens now, it's almost, there's an expectation with, eradicating plastics, using the whole ingredient, and I think that's great. And it lifts the game. People really care about how you operate as a business and what goes into the food and techniques. I think the standards, certainly in Australia, of knowledge around food now from the customer is really high, which is brilliant. Which pushes us to do even more, to look at other ways, and whether that comes from us or our staff or other establishments that share those ideas is great for everyone. I see the future of low waste cooking becoming mainstream, just common practice in restaurants, cafes, hotels, and also for the home cook. I think produce is certainly going up in price for the right or wrong reason, but I think as any cook, whether you're cooking for your kids at home or 500 people in a hotel, I think there are huge benefits. I think it's kind of come full circle. I think we were probably utilising more of a waste-free approach 50 years ago, when fermentation, certainly around like Eastern Europe, was just commonplace. It sort of became cool in restaurants about 8 or 9 years ago. But it's stuff that I talked to my mother-in-law about this, and she's like, yeah, that's how it was. So I feel like we're almost going back to basics and how you should approach food, and whether it's because of financial ramifications or just to lift our game. But I don't think we're doing anything new. As chefs, we think we're so cool, and we just operate in how you probably should.